Coming up, a united front against elderly fraud through education and information.
An intergenerational second effort salute. Young people helping Corky's Bakery turn a profit.
And a trip to Israel and all its splendor. Today's traveling around destination. All this and more is next on Time for Living. Hello and welcome to Time for Living. I'm Howard Nielsen.
And I'm Janet Jegalian. Today we'll introduce you to a businesswoman who's getting a little bit of marketing advice from an unlikely source.
We'll tell you what questions you need to ask when talking about your financial future with your financial advisor, your lawyer, and your accountant.
And of course, we'll take a trip on today's traveling around destination to a land of beaches, cities, and desert. All this and more is just ahead. First, we take an in-depth look at a very serious topic, one that we've discussed on Time for Living in the past, elderly fraud. This crime is one of the hardest crimes to stop, simply because the unsuspecting victim realizes they've lost their money after the perpetrator is long gone.
But now, with a concerted effort among attorneys general, the American Association of Retired Persons, the National Fraud Center, and many other organizations, there's a better chance of preventing these crimes through education, information being made more accessible to potential victims. In this report, we find there are quite a few myths that need to be cleared up, as well as ways to avoid being a victim.
The creative products that we've come up with that reflect the research.
AARP recently conducted a major study on telemarketing fraud in older people. The previously held myths suggest older victims are isolated, confused, lonely, and ill-informed. This stands in sharp contrast to the new research, which shows victims are relatively affluent, well-educated, informed, and active in their communities.
One of the most important things that our research uncovered was the fact that only 2% of the older population thinks that telemarketing fraud is a crime. And I think it's very important that we get that message out there. Knowing that it's a crime can motivate people to actually hang up the phone.
AARP's research also identifies 5 categories of victim personality types which describe people who are more easily scammed than others. They include naive, likes to buy, polite and vulnerable, you can't fool me, and open to anything.
Well, we really believe that once older people understand that telemarketing fraud is a crime and it's a criminal on the other end of the phone, that they will feel empowered to report that crime to law enforcement.
I'm Linda Glodner with the National Consumers League, and I would like
In
to
1996, the National Consumers League, with funding from the American Express Company, co-sponsored a national conference on telemarketing fraud and the elderly at the Aspen Institute on Maryland's Eastern Shore. This conference was a major first step in devising ways to make the public more aware of the problem. 2 overall messages emerged from the conference. First, the public needs to understand telemarketing fraud is a crime. Second, the experts in attendance zeroed in on the 2 categories of victims they thought were most likely to respond to targeted messages about telemarketing fraud. They are those who are open to anything. Mr. Taylor is a good example of this. And those who are polite and vulnerable, which clearly fits Mrs. Downs' personality type. The national media is now starting to take note and helping to spread the word.
The FBI reports 80% of those telemarketers are intentionally targeting seniors.
In addition, a public education campaign is being launched by AARP, the National Consumers League, and American Express. The National Consumers League wants to make sure everyone, no matter what age, knows help is available to both actual and potential fraud victims.
There's a lot of help when you call the National Fraud Information Center. You'll be talking with professional consumer counselors who will work you through that scam and try to get information from you so that they can help you so you won't be defrauded again. They'll be reporting that information to the enforcement agencies.
If you are concerned a friend or family member may be a chronic elderly fraud victim, here are some warning signs. Large amounts of mail lying around offering free prizes and investment opportunities. Frequent telephone calls from strangers. Frequent stops by private courier firms or receipts from private courier firms. Secretive behavior. The individual acts nervous when the telephone rings. Telemarketing fraud and the elderly is a huge problem in this country. Yet more and more attention is being devoted to making older adults and their families aware the caller on the other end of the line with that winning prize, luxury vacation, or special offer may very well be a crook.
They call in and they say, I want to check this out. I don't want to be taken. Do you have any information about this company? It's happening to a lot of people, and the smart ones are the ones that check it out ahead of time, like you. And they say, I just wanted to check it out. I sure am glad you're there, and thank you. Well, that makes my day.
When we come back, a discussion on how one Attorney General's office is making a difference in the fight against elderly fraud.
Plug, right? Okay.
Hook comes from the
Right.
off of the wings. You
Right.
find it.
Right. So what are you going to? How are you going to lead into this?
The
now?
F-30.
What have we done?
We'll start talking about.
Attention mature travelers. Grand Circle Travel invites you to discover the world in a whole new way. When you call for your copy of the world's best travel values, absolutely free. Inside, you'll discover a completely new way to travel that's planned and paced exclusively for mature travelers. At last, discover the joy of meeting local people in the places you visit and learn about their unique culture and customs and experience their greatest art and architecture. From a picnic in the Swiss Alps to the spice markets of Istanbul, Grand Circle Travel invites you to discover the world in a whole new way. Call for your free copy of the world's best travel values today. To receive complete details on how you can discover the world in a whole new way with Grand Circle Travel, including your free copy of the world's best travel values, call toll-free 1-800-966-2768. That's 1-800-966-2768. Call today.
Welcome back. We continue our look at what's being done to curtail the amount of elderly fraud cases that occur every year. Joining me to discuss this effort and other elderly consumer issues is Barbara Anthony, who has been a top aide to Attorney General Scott Harshbarger for the past 6 years. She is chief of the Public Protection Bureau for the Attorney General. And in that job, her responsibilities include overseeing health care and elder litigation and policy issues. Welcome to Time for Living, Barbara. Nice to have you here.
Nice to be here.
Though we've discussed this issue before, there's always reason to repeat it because people have been warned and I'm sure they've been cautioned about not being conned in some way, but it does occur. And for that reason, the Elder Hotline has come into creation, I understand.
Right. We're very excited about this new initiative from Scott Harshbarger's office. We just kicked it off this week. It's really a major elder consumer protection project. And what it is, Alice, is a toll-free hotline here in Massachusetts for elders and their families where they can get advice on a whole range of issues, including telemarketing fraud, credit problems, health care, long-term care insurance, nursing homes, home health aid, whatever it is. We have senior volunteers actually staffing the line, so people who have been trained and also from their own personal lives and experience can help other elders, supervised by our staff. We'll be providing information, we'll be making referrals, and we've already
Where did you find all these seniors to train and to get them ready
wonderful.
Be able to respond in this way?
There's we have a whole group of partners in this initiative, including the American Association of Retired Persons, United Jewish Philanthropies, the Massachusetts Association of Older Americans. There's a whole host. I think we have about 20 co-sponsors on our advisory committee, and so they have provided us with some volunteers, people who've come out from the community, many of whom volunteer already in a number of other areas. They may be retired. As one woman said, I'm not getting paid anymore for what I'm doing, but I sure am working.
But they don't need a lot of indoctrination into what it is they've got to share with the callers?
Well, many of these senior volunteers or elder volunteers are very knowledgeable, but we have provided training. We have just reams of resource materials and training materials, and in addition to the lawyers on our staff and others, we've got a pretty good amount of resources ready to help.
Do you find that the people who call are more likely to be members of the elder person's family, or is it the older American who is actually calling to find out whether they have actually been scammed?
Both. In the telemarketing area, we find both, and in particular, elders will call themselves and say, I've received this phone call, or unfortunately, I've already sent my money in. What should I do about this problem? On the healthcare side, oftentimes we'll have family members because the elder is not in a position to make the call. So it really does run the full range, from families to the elders themselves.
But aren't some people pretty humiliated by what's taken place and almost fearful of having more shame, guilt feeling heaped upon themselves?
Unfortunately, that has been true, particularly in terms of telemarketing fraud. And one of the great lessons that we're all trying to get out there is it's not you. You're not the criminal. You don't have to be ashamed or embarrassed. You didn't rip anyone off. You didn't steal anyone's money. It's the telemarketing scam artist who did that. So you are the victim. You have nothing to be ashamed about. And I can tell you, I've heard the FBI tapes and other tapes that have been developed from real situations where telemarketing fraud victims, particularly elders, are subjected to the most amazing barrage of come-ons and harassment and abuse, frankly, on the other end of the telephone from these telemarketing con artists. It's unbelievable.
But what about the one who comes to your door, even someone who is selling you something that seems very legitimate and that you feel it's something that you probably could use, but you find out that they run off with your money when you finally have signed that line?
Well, we have a whole range of advice for elders and consumers generally about that sort of thing. I mean, first of all, don't do business with companies or individuals you're not familiar with. I mean,
or who show up on your doorstep.
Show up on the door, ring that bell. I mean, they shouldn't come to my father's home, let me tell you that. He's 85 years old, and I would not want to be a scam artist working in his neighborhood in Medford. So, I think he's very cautious. If he doesn't know you, he's not going to open the door. And if you're selling something, if he hasn't ordered it, he's not going to buy it.
But the typical person who is duped is someone who is often polite and is unable to hang that phone up or shut the door in that person's face.
Right. That's correct.
And yet in that little piece that we saw, we understand that many people are affluent and are well educated and are still having difficulty.
We're a very polite society, particularly among elders. We find that they find that it's very difficult to simply hang up that telephone. We haven't been trained that way. We don't slam the phone down on folks who call us, and we're not ordinarily rude. And these telemarketers, and this is such an important point for all of our viewers to know, are trained. There's a script that they have. They are reading, and the scripts have worked. So this isn't just someone calling you from out of the blue. They know exactly what they're doing, and the script instructs the con person, the con man or con woman, where to go. If the response is such and such, go to the next line, go to the next line. So they're very, very well trained. We need to know that they are criminals, and elders need not to be afraid to hang up that phone.
Do these con artists call randomly, or do they have good suspicion to know that you are going to be ripe for picking?
They have mailing lists that they've bought, and your name is on a mailing list. They know exactly that you are the one, as you put it, who is ripe for picking. And if you're an elder, first of all, elder mailing lists are very valuable. They are sold among
But there are
scammers.
some, like your father, who is rigid and tell them to
Right,
go take
so
a
there's
leak.
not going to be any little mark beside his name
I see.
as somebody who's an easy mark, let's put it this way.
All
They
right.
know that Tony there in Medford is not going to sign a check and send some money in or give his credit card. But if his neighbor next door has done that, then there will be an indication on the mailing list that this is someone who has responded. And then the neighbors next door, his name is more valuable than my father's name.
All
So
right,
they
now,
know what
if
they're
a
doing.
person calls and you say no, the older American says no, they're not interested, but perhaps they didn't say it forcefully enough, would they perhaps get another call from that
absolutely.
person? And they just keep
Absolutely,
constantly
you've got it.
barraging you
That's
with
right.
this kind of
That's right.
intervention
Right.
until you weaken.
Right. Because you see the crooks on the other end of the line, and that's basically what they are, they're being paid on a commission basis. So they have nothing to lose by trying again and again to, whatever the harassment and abusive language is, to wear you down to the point where you will succumb to the pressure.
What is the latest fraud that is being perpetrated around this region and across the country?
Well, we're hearing around this region in Massachusetts and also around the country that, you know how seniors are concerned about Social Security, and everyone says, is it going to be there, is it not going to be there? It's a fear that we all have, and it preys on our anxiety and so on. These envelopes that come in the mail that look very official, SSSI, United States, something that looks like it's from the United States government. What we're finding out is that these are scam artists who are sending these mailings to elders saying it's an extra burial benefit that you can obtain through Social Security if you simply will fill out this card and send it in. And when you do that, you get a call from a life insurance agent operating out of Texas. Or another scam that I heard recently has to do with so-called lobbying groups, again, sending very official looking envelopes to seniors saying, in order to protect your Social Security for the future, please support this particular organization, because there's a little loophole in the law here that means that you're not going to end up too well. So send us some money and we will help to ensure that you will not be, your Social Security will not be taken away.
Obviously, there's a lengthy paper trail that these people have. Isn't there some way of shutting them down, or do they suddenly change their address overnight?
You got it. I mean, they move faster than a speeding bullet, and that's one of the problems in terms of
But they may
law
have one
enforcement.
address with one person and another address with another.
Absolutely. They're boiler rooms, you know, and it doesn't take much to set up shop. A telephone, pad of paper, a script. And we find that many of these operators, call them operators, scam artists calling in to Massachusetts, now where we are, don't operate here in Massachusetts. They operate southern states, far western states.
So what do you do to try to get these people? And
Good question. What we've done this year, and my boss, Scott Harshbarger, is the president of the National Association of Attorneys General. Now, this year, we've made telemarketing fraud and protection of the elders. Scott has made that a top priority. So there have been collaborations among the attorneys general all over the country, the FBI, the Federal Trade Commission, and we have been able to actually bring some pretty good cases, frankly, using federal resources and state resources all over the country, combining us together and cracking down on telemarketing fraud. But it does take a national effort. Single states, one by one, are not equipped well enough to deal with this interstate crime that is basically
Yet all
very
states
rapid.
now do have a Consumer Protection Bureau, I would
Most
assume,
do.
and that this is where a person should, who they should contact if they suspect something's awry.
Right. Well, here in Massachusetts, we have the Attorney General's Elder Hotline, and I don't know if we're going to give the number. Is that something you want me to do now, or are we going to give it a little bit?
The number is going to be...
Okay, it's going to go up.
Give it to us.
It is 1-888-243-5337, and any elder or family member can call that hotline and report telemarketing fraud or ask questions about any issues, as I mentioned earlier. Now, around the country, I would recommend that people call their state attorney general's office or consumer affairs office in their city or state, or the national fraud hotline, which I think you also mentioned earlier.
Yes.
So there are information and referral resources available for all of us.
That's wonderful, and I do hope that this has fallen on the right ears, and we're not going to hear about as much of this fraud going on.
Let's hope so.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Again, the number for the Attorney General's Elder Hotline in Massachusetts is 1-888-243-5337, and the number for the National Fraud Information Center is 1-800-876-7000. Again, that's 1-800-876-7000. When Time for Living continues, an intergenerational relationship that's helping Corky's Bakery increase sales. Find out how when we come back.
Okay. Okay.
Welcome back to Time for Living. In the past, in our second effort salute, we've introduced you to people who know their older years are truly a time for living. They not only know it, they prove it by starting new careers, achieving difficult goals, and by simply taking on new challenges.
Well, every once in a while, there is a group of young people who assist these individuals to achieve their goals. They, too, deserve a second effort salute. Using the young minds of tomorrow's marketing executives, Corky's Bakery hopes to transform sagging sales into soaring profits. Mary Norton has more in this intergenerational story.
Well, this is one of my favorites. It's an Italian farm bread.
Corky knows good breads, and she knows how to make a mean malted milkshake. But sales were sagging at her bakery, and she didn't know what to do.
I've tried everything. Well, not everything.
That's where these high school seniors come in. Corky enlisted their help to boost the bakery's sales.
Don't forget to put in when you ask Corky about the lighting of the story.
I love that fountain of youth though. You could play it up on everything. What else could you play it up on?
These students are part of the advanced marketing class at McLean High School in Virginia. For their class project, they're going to save Corky's Bakery. They've broken up into teams, and each team must come up with a marketing strategy that will help turn things around.
I hope they come up with something wonderful.
The big day arrived, and the students made final adjustments to their presentations. Corky waited with anticipation.
It's time.
And the competition began.
Corky has had a lot of success in the restaurant business, and she's been doing so for a number of years in the McLean area.
One by one, each team presented their ideas on how to change the bakery.
The dimensions of each of the tiles is 12 inches by 12 inches, and they're relatively inexpensive at $1.65 per tile.
This was wonderful.
The time arrived for Corky to make her decision.
Your reports show the time and effort you put into them, and they're just great. That's what community is all about. This is the winner. It's professional, you looked good, you presented it well, all the ideas were just wonderful.
How did the students feel about helping out someone from an older generation?
It was a great opportunity to kind of bridge the generation gap, to put it one way. But, you know, she's a real daredevil, you know, taking on something like this, you know, as a person that could be retiring right now.
Programs like this allow an opportunity for people of different generations to get to know each other, to learn that people who are a different age than you are not necessarily bad.
Corky made the most out of this younger generation.
They put a lot of time and effort into them. I'm touched.
I'm Mary Norton reporting.
If you have someone you think deserves a Second Effort Salute, write to us here at Time for Living, care of Second Effort Salute, P.O. Box 8452, Boston, Massachusetts, 02114.
Or you can leave your comments or questions on our voicemail by calling 800-232-7213 or fax us at 617-329-1774. We'd love to hear from you.
When Time for Living continues, all aboard for our journey to Israel on today's Traveling Around destination. Stay with us. And they retail for $55. I got them for $30.
Welcome back. It's time for a trip to our traveling around destination. Today we visit Israel and its potpourri of people, languages, history, cities and deserts, and of course, religion.
Taking us along this beautiful and informative journey is Time for Living's Rex Trailer.
We begin our journey to Israel with a visit to Tel Aviv's Carmel Market. 80 different ethnic groups call Israel home. In Haifa, the old Arab section of Tel Aviv, jewelry makers ply their trade. As a whole, Tel Aviv is a modern place, yet those with a pioneering spirit can escape the big city into the heart of the Negev. Some of this desert has been transformed into productive farmland, but much remains as it has been for thousands of years. Today they still welcome you to their tents for coffee. The beans ground in a rhythmic pattern unique to each family. From there, a 2-hour camel ride brings you to the hilltop site of Olda. Over the centuries, Roman and Byzantine settlements were built on top of this old city. You have to have a sense of adventure to spend 3 hot, dusty, bumpy hours rolling through this arid landscape. You'll miss a lot unless you speak Hebrew, so make sure you choose a Jeep journey where English is spoken. From the Negev, it's on to Jerusalem, where you'll find the Western Wall. Here is where Jews come to celebrate their faith. Just behind the wall, the Dome of the Rock, where Muslims believe the Prophet Muhammad ascended to the heavens. 2 religions, 2 profoundly different sites. Over many centuries, Jerusalem's blessing and its curse has been that it is a holy place for Christian, Muslim, and Jew. You'll find religious sites here for all 3 faiths. Here you can walk on the same path that Jesus trod on the way to the crucifixion. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre, where Christians believe the cross of Jesus stood, and the tomb where he was buried and resurrected. For pilgrims, an intense religious experience. Now it's on to Israel's Dead Sea. People come here to float like corks, soak in the sun, and slap on the mud with its healing properties. Not far is another place where we can revitalize the spirit rather than the skin.
The story here is a story of such heroism and resistance to tyranny that everyone who comes here, whether they're a Jew or a Christian, can relate to it.
King Herod built Masada 2,000 years ago, but he died before ever seeing his clifftop fortress. A few hundred Jewish zealots took over Masada, defying the mighty Roman Empire.
Here you've got a very good view of the Roman siege camp.
For 2 years, the defenders held off the Roman army. 900 men, women, and children beating back 10,000 soldiers. Finally, the Romans began knocking down the fortress walls at Masada. At that point, the defenders knew their cause was lost. Each man killed his own family, then each other, till all were gone.
They wanted to die in a way that would emphasize the way they had lived as people who resisted the tremendous power of the conqueror. They died taking their freedom with them. And this was the worst blow to the Romans.
You'll find security tight at many tourist sites in Israel. Struggles in the Middle East have affected the tourist trade, but Israelis are doing all they can to make their country safe for visitors. Israel, today's traveling around destination.
If you'd like to learn more about Israel, call Grand Circle Travel at 800-966-2802, extension 104. Again, that's Grand Circle Travel, 800-966-2802, extension 104.
When we come back, some questions you may want to ask when considering your financial future. Stay with us.
Traveling Around is brought to you by Grand Circle Travel. Attention mature travelers. Grand Circle Travel invites you to discover the world in a whole new way. When you call for your copy of the world's best travel values, absolutely free. Inside, you'll discover a completely new way to travel that's planned and paced exclusively for mature travelers. At last, discover the joy of meeting local people in the places you visit and learn about their unique culture and customs and experience their greatest art and architecture. From a picnic in the Swiss Alps to the spice markets of Istanbul, Grand Circle Travel invites you to discover the world in a whole new way. Call for your free copy of the world's best travel values today. To receive complete details on how you can discover the world in a whole new way with Grand Circle Travel, including your free copy of the world's best travel values, call toll-free 1-800-966-2768. That's 1-800-966-2768. Call today.
Welcome back to Time for a Living. Some of you have heard our financial expert Steve Burke say repeatedly, when talking about financial matters, remember, ask lots of questions. Well, there are lots of questions you may ask and many areas that prompt questions. So today we thought it would be helpful to present you with some questions which people retired or about to retire should have answers for.
Now, you may not find all of them apply to your financial situation, but it is good to know they exist, and in future years they may be of value to you, your family, or even friends. The following questions could be about your own situation, or at least food for thought to pursue with your financial advisor.
This material is not meant to be an in-depth analysis, but rather thought-provoking. Put another way, this approach should prompt you to say to yourself, I should look into that idea or product, or maybe I should use that strategy. So let's look at some of the questions which could impact your retirement or approaching retirement. We'll touch on professional help. Where do I find professional help which will make my later years comfortable and secure? Happily, there is a lot of help out there. The important point to keep in mind is that it can come in many forms, and you're the one to make that judgment. For example, attorneys are very important parts of retirement planning because they are the proper person to deal with trusts, wills, and in many cases, taxes. In addition to lawyers, you might want to consult a financial planner who is trained to help you in accumulating money for retirement and can also assist you in properly managing your assets after you've retired. Your insurance agent and stockbroker, if you have them, can provide ideas and information about products geared to retirement years. Not last, and certainly not least, are accountants who are knowledgeable about taxes and the legal avoidance of same. In many cases, it can be to your advantage to develop a team of these people so that you have a solid idea of what these various professionals are going to charge you for their services. If you ask about costs and get vague answers, stop and consider whether this is going to be a good relationship for you and your family. Strategies are methods of accomplishing your goals, but be aware that change is part of almost every strategy, and so it's important that you realize this needs regular attention and adjustment. Consider these simple examples of this. First, a private annuity. This procedure allows you to establish income for yourself and your spouse if appropriate, while at the same time it can reduce estate taxes by removing an asset from your estate. Not bad strategy. Lifetime income and reduced taxes. Another way to reduce taxes lies in the area of trusts, or perhaps a gift-giving program. Example, should you have an asset which provides no income, such as a piece of land, and you expect to pass it on to family members, do it now. Out of your estate means no estate taxes. As for trust, there are many forms of trust which speak to a variety of strategies. Finally, a fun strategy. It needs some effort on your part, but it provides less expensive way to travel, either because it's just plain inexpensive. Two groups to research are Earthwatch and/or Senior Hostel. It's a way to keep costs down while visiting interesting places. Finally, products. Is there a financial product which will guarantee I will always have income? Yes. An annuity with lifetime benefits. Check with your advisor or insurance agent to see what's available. There are many annuities out there. Make sure the one you purchase does what you want. Can I reduce taxes on a reasonably predictable basis? Answer, yes. A product known as a tax credit may well be just the answer for reducing taxes now and in the future. It's legal and proper, but you need to understand the pros and cons. In the area of nursing home care, how do I prevent erosion of my assets caused by nursing home expenses? Consider long-term care insurance, which presents many options to combat the ever-increasing cost of nursing home and care at home. Finally, is there any way I can invest for retirement beyond IRAs and other forms of pension plans which avoid taxes until retirement? Certainly. The answer is annuities, but in this example I suggest you consider an index annuity or a variable annuity, because there are many kinds of this financial area out there approach available. Research the merits of this way of accumulating money very carefully to make sure it will respond to your needs. That's about all the time we have for now. It's probably apparent to you at this point that there are a lot of good approaches available to you. That's true. The help is there, and strategies are numerous. In addition, there's a vast array of products which can be tailored to your needs. The financial professionals are very willing to answer your concerns and provide you with assistance. So take your time, believe in your common sense, and ask lots of questions. I'm Steve Burke. Time for Living.
If you have any questions regarding any financial topics discussed on Time for Living, then write to Steve Burke at Time for Living, care of Health, Finance, and More, P.O. Box 8452, Boston, Massachusetts 02114.
Or you can leave your comments or questions on our voicemail by calling 800-232-7213 or fax us at 617-329-1774. We'd love to hear from you.
Well, Time for Living continues, cutting a federal housing program that could have a major impact on low-income older Americans.
But we start on one. Okay.
Okay. I like most music, but...
Welcome back to Time for Living. Section 202, it's a government program, but it's not one you often hear about. Yet for thousands of low-income older Americans, Section 202 means an affordable, dignified, and safe place to live.
And it can also make the difference in keeping an older person from having to go into a nursing home. But the program is in danger of being cut. Mary Norton explains.
Alma McLaughlin moved to Basilica Place in Baltimore when doctors told her she was losing her eyesight.
The housing that I had before with the medical bills and other things that I was concerned about, I would have to retire 2 years before my time.
Alma, a former nurse, had eye surgery and her vision improved. Now, living in Basilica Place, she says she's more active than ever.
I came here and I became president of the Resident Association, which I've been for 5 years.
Hi, Joe. Hi, dear Carmela. How are you? All right.
Basilica Place is one of thousands of apartment buildings for seniors that is part of the federally funded Section 202 program. It provides housing at affordable rents for low-income older people.
Housing problems are acute among older renters, probably more so than any other population, simply because poverty in old age is pretty much permanent.
Section 202 housing provides a safe place to live with such things as grab bars in bathrooms, emergency pull cords, user-friendly doorknobs. Now the president has asked Congress to drastically cut spending for Section 202, a cut of more than 50%.
This would cut the number of new units to be constructed down from roughly 8,500, which is what is happening right now, down to, I think, roughly 3,600. So that's a big drop.
For Alma, the proposed cut really hits home.
A lot of times people don't have families to take care of them or even to help them. And so this allows them to live quietly, nicely, in a clean, attractive place. It gives you a pride to be in a place like this. I'm thankful for Basilica Place. I've had enough comparison to see other places, and I love it. I truly do.
I'm Mary Norton reporting.
Congress is about to take up Section 202 funding soon, and advocates of the program say they hope the funding will, at the very least, stay at its current levels.
We now turn to our Medical Minute. Falls or fear of falling limits the lifestyle of up to 1/3 of community-dwelling older adults. They're also the most common cause of accidents of people over the age of 65 and the leading cause of mortality from injury in that age group.
Falls can result in multiple soft tissue injuries, hip fractures, wrist fractures, brain injury, and burns, and contributes to the development of blood clots, dehydration, pneumonias, and other serious medical conditions. While most falls do not end in death, they are not benign events. In today's medical event, or minute that is, Dr. Alan Abrams discusses the warning signs to prevent falling.
Falling should never be viewed as an accident attributable to a person's age. Falling and gait instability are signals that a person is at risk for a decline in function and independence. Many people experience a fear of falling that leads to the avoidance of activities which they are perfectly capable of performing, thus limiting their enjoyment and experience of life. There are many things that you can do, along with the help of your primary care provider, to minimize the chances that you will fall. Here are some of the risk factors for you to keep on top of. Vision. Many deficits in visual acuity may be modified with proper attention. Please check your visual acuity regularly and seek medical attention if you notice a change in visual perception. Hearing. Hearing loss can precipitate a fall when an individual is unable to hear the warning sounds of something approaching. This hearing loss could be due to something as simple as excessive wax accumulation. See your primary care physician if you or anyone close to you has noticed a change in your hearing. Postural hypotension. If you notice that when you get up quickly you feel dizzy, or that shortly after taking a few steps you feel unstable, ask your physician to evaluate you for postural hypotension. In some people, as they get older, their blood pressure drops momentarily as they quickly change position. This can lead to dizziness and falls. Musculoskeletal conditioning. The steadiness of our gait and our ability to right ourselves is dependent upon an intact neurologic and muscular system. Any weakness or pain which impairs our ability to right ourselves can have devastating consequences. No matter what your medical condition, maintain the highest physical fitness that you can. Consult your physician to authorize a personal program of strength maintenance that is tailored to you. Take good care of your feet. For many, ignoring foot problems and wearing unsafe footwear can trip you up all by itself. Medications. Older adults who are receiving drug therapy fall more often than those who are not. Ask your physician to review your medication regimen regularly and only take those medications which are absolutely necessary. Drugs which are used to treat anxiety, pain, and headaches, along with some for fluid retention and high blood pressure, have been particularly problematic, promoting falls. Psychological factors. Never overestimate your ability to perform activities. Maintaining an image of independence and refusing to use assistive devices when needed will increase the chances of becoming disabled. Emotional upheavals can render you less attentive to environmental hazards. Keep your cool. Most falls occur in the home. Many communities have professionals who will evaluate you at home for environmental safety. In particular, be aware of the following: highly polished wax floors, loose rugs, or thick piled carpets, excessive glare or inadequate illumination, lack of handrails on stairs, high steps, or worn stair treads, slippery bathroom floors, showers, or bathtubs, and excessively low toilet seats, inappropriately high or low shelving. These are among the many home hazards which can be corrected and reduce your risk of falls. Staying upright is no easy task. Many factors, medical, psychological, and environmental, influence our ability to stand safely erect. Be curious if your vision or hearing has changed. Notice if medications affect your sense of stability. Consult with your physician for a comprehensive falls evaluation if you feel unsteady on your feet. Reassure yourself that you can get from here to there safely and make your later years a time for living. This is Dr. Alan Abrams with your Medical Minute.
If you have any questions regarding any medical topics discussed on Time for Living, then write to Dr. Alan Abrams at Time for Living, care of Medical Minute, P.O. Box 8452, Boston, Massachusetts, 02114.
Or you can leave your comments or questions on our voicemail by calling 800-232-7213 or fax us at 617-329-1774. We'd love to hear from you.
Time for Living will continue in just a moment. Stay with us.
Before we say goodbye, we'd like to give you our address and phone numbers one last time. You can write or call us with your questions, comments, or suggestions, because remember, this show is not only for you, it's about you.
The address again is Time for Living, P.O. Box 8452, Boston, Massachusetts 02114, or you can send a fax to 617-329-1774. If you don't feel like writing, you can leave us a message on our voicemail by calling 800-232-7213.
Well, we hope you enjoyed today's show, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. We'll certainly have more interesting people and places to introduce you to.
We'll see you next week. Until then, remember, it's time for living.
Take care.
Bye.